I was going to start with the running backs. We might as well just stay on Burrow here. You obviously have moved him down a little bit. You're behind Justin Herbert. And how about you, Jamie? Because one report from Mike Garafolo of NFL Network says that a week one return should be realistic for Joe Burrow. Have you moved him down?
I have not, and actually, I moved him up right before the injury happened. I moved him ahead of Justin Fields from 6 to 5. I will probably readjust that, but I can certainly see Justin Herbert going ahead of him. I mean, look, when you're looking at these 7 guys, but I think really you separate them 4 through 7 because the top 3 I think belong in a tier by themselves: Mahomes, Allen, and Hurts. Then it's really I think you're nitpicking on who has the chance to be better because you know what Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields can do with their legs, and that's not replicable by the other guys. And then you look at what Burrow and Herbert are going to do with their offenses throwing the ball. And if he's hurt and does miss any games, I mean, we're expecting at this point week 1. So if he's not going to miss any games, I don't think you should necessarily downgrade him. But like he said, this is a soft tissue injury that could linger. They might be a little bit more cautious with them early in the season because they definitely have Super Bowl aspirations. So I can see passing on Burrow, certainly passing on McCost, and going with somebody else in that same tier.
I thought one of the things, Adam, that you got most right at quarterback last year was that Joe Burrow's second year off the injury should run more. And he did. He had 5 touchdowns instead of 2. He had 250 yards instead of 114 from the year before. I'm not projecting him to miss any games right now. But as of right now, I wouldn't expect him to run as much as he did last year early in the year.
Yeah. I guess I can't really say the history of people with calf injuries and if they run well, I don't know. But it's a good point. He was somewhat of a factor. He did have, you said 5 rushing touchdowns. It's kind of probably a little bit high, I would think.
Right.
But, okay. So Burrow, if you consider him in that tier and you're nervous about him, then I could certainly make sense. You could drop him down, and Jamie gave you the other end of that. But also you could sit here and you could say, hey, if I like a guy and he just got injured in July, 6 weeks before the season starts, that could be a great thing. So maybe that's the case for Jonathan Taylor, who may or may not be injured. We don't really know. But
doesn't sound like it.
According to him, no. But I did see one report that said he was legitimately injured, and that's why he was on the PUP list, that it wasn't because of the contract. So Jonathan Taylor has requested a trade, and they say he had a back injury, and they might put him on a non-football injury list. And it looks a little ugly right now, at least from the outside, with Colts and Taylor. And then you got the Seattle situation. If you like Ken Walker, if you like Zach Charbonnet, you say buy the dip. This is a time where people are going to be maybe a little nervous to draft them, and you might be able to take advantage of that. But Jamie, you can go first on Taylor. What do you think about Jonathan Taylor right now?
Well, when you say legitimately injured, I think that's the ankle. The story that came out last night was that he has a back injury, and that might put him on the NFI list, which means, we're getting very technical here from an NFL standpoint, but they could not have to pay him for the 2023 season, which would just allow his years of service to accrue, and he'd be back for 2024 at the same price. It's messy. It's obviously messy, so is a team going to trade for him? It's so difficult at this point based on salary cap because they're going to have to pay him. I think if you trade for him, unless you're just going to put him in the same situation. I would think for people who are drafting, he's no longer a first round pick. There's too much risk attached to it right now. And I think it's even hard to say he's an early second round pick. So I've dropped him to the back half of round 2. I think you just got to almost put him in the same scenario as Josh Jacobs. Just there's uncertainty, there's questions. Until we get some answers, it's easy to pass on him. And then again, like you said, Adam, you get him at the right cost. That's when you sort of jump into it. So anything I think after, around pick 20th overall, I'm willing to buy both those guys because they're still the same upside if they get their situation settled. But I think right now there's just some question marks, and that's why I think you just maybe go a different direction when you're talking about the first 15 to 20 overall picks.
I do think I'm more concerned about Taylor than I am Jacobs, at least for now, just because of the weirdness of Jim Irsay and him publicly talking about so much of this stuff. And then whatever the leak was with the back injury and Taylor coming out and saying, I don't have a back injury. I never said my back hurt. It seems more acrimonious. And so that one worries me a little bit more, but I haven't downgraded Jacobs yet. So I'll probably downgrade Taylor a little bit today. Definitely not in round 1. Still think the most likely outcome for both of these guys is they're going to play week 1.
And I think in terms of Taylor, look, he's not good, but it's not a bad idea. I did this in a dynasty league over the weekend. I picked up Zach Moss. He was just sitting there. If you're able to make ad drops right now, why not? Now Evan Hull is going to have an opportunity. He's their 5th round rookie. We'll see if Deion Jackson gets a chance, but we saw last year that Zach Moss in a terrible situation, and we know he's not great. Volume matters, and I'm sure they're going to run the ball still a lot.
Oh boy, did we have some fun Zach Moss. Should I start Zach Moss or this guy in my fantasy playoffs late last year? I don't even remember. All right, let's see. He had 24 carries for 81 yards at the Vikings. He had 12 carries for 65.
Remember that game?
Well, that was the game Taylor got hurt. Oh, that was the biggest comeback in football history. Yeah.
Yep.
And then fantasy championship against the Giants, 15 carries for 74 yards. So he got work, and then he didn't do anything really with it until week 18, which didn't count for anyone. 18 carries, 114 yards, and a touchdown against the Texans, and 3 catches for 7 yards. They did not throw to him. He had 4 catches on the year. No, in that stretch, he had 4 catches after the Taylor injury. Okay. For the Seahawks, so, all right, Heath, break it down. Ken Walker has a groin injury. They're calling him week to week. Zach Charbonnet out indefinitely with a shoulder injury. And your thoughts?
I'm moving both of them down. I think one of the things I said, like back in January or February when we did our things we learned from last season, I said, I'm going to stop ignoring injuries so much. And so I'm going to remain true to that. And I already said it with Burrow. I'll be dry. I was already so low on Walker that there was no chance that I was going to draft him in redraft. I think Charbonnet now you can't take before probably round 11 or 12. And Walker, I can't imagine taking before round 7.
Oh, but if I could get Ken Walker in round 7, I'd be thrilled with that, because I remember 2 seasons ago, I think it was, DeAndre Swift had a preseason injury.
That's the thing. I think I want to make that point. Like some of these guys who are hurt are going to be fine by week 1, and you're gonna be wrong. But some of these guys who are hurt are going to have terrible 2023 seasons.
Yeah.
But I think you're factoring it in by taking him in round 7. Like if you're taking him still in round 4 or 5, that doesn't I think help. That doesn't help justify the injury. Clearly, you don't want to take an injured player, but I think it's the same thing like Taylor. If they fall you at the right price, like how do you not take a chance on them being healthy and them being the type of player that they can be?
The difference for me would be like if they said Charbonnet is going to go on IR, then I would agree. I have pretty big concerns that when both of these guys are healthy, Ken Walker's going to turn into a trap back. I think Charbonnet is probably going to be better in the passing game, and he's probably going to be better in short yardage.
I don't necessarily disagree, but I think if you tell me Charbonnet is going on IR, Ken Walker is probably a 2nd-round pick as opposed to a 7th-round pick.
If he's healthy, yes.
But I mean, you tell me one guy has a shoulder injury, one guy has a groin injury. Obviously, I have no idea, but I'd rather, if I had a guy on my fantasy team, I'd rather him have a shoulder injury. And my concern with Walker is that that Charbonnet comes back next week. Walker's out until the 3rd or 4th week of the preseason, and Charbonnet makes a lot of inroads there. And I don't think I'm a believer in Walker though. I'm a little bit different than you. I believe in him. I mean, obviously, I can't justify like what we were thinking, maybe 1st-round pick before the NFL draft. But I just think he's awesome. But
he's really good at the things that we like. He is the type of player who often fantasy managers like more than coaches do. I'm not putting that label on him. I understand why you're saying that. He was boomer busty on a carry by carry. Not just that, but also he's not a guy who's been good on passing downs.
Yeah, I mean, right. You look at Seattle running backs, and how many of them have been good on passing downs?
I mean, the biggest thing is what the team has told us.
Right.
They told us that there was something that they were missing, that they were willing to invest a 2nd-round pick for the 2nd year in a row on that same position.
Yeah, I get that, but he was phenomenal last year.
He was, but he did it with little competition, and now he's got significant competition.
I understand. I think before this, a few days ago, you couldn't draft him before the 4th round, hopefully the 5th round. But if you tell me I can get him in the 7th round with his talent, I could see that really hitting it, like really paying off.
Well, you drafted him in our dynasty league.
I did.
And you did it knowing that this could be a problem for the next 3 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it could be. I'm not going to talk too much about our dynasty league, but I remember when I drafted him, maybe like the 5th round or something like that.
Here, I'll have it up. Why don't you go talk about it? Because Heath is going to win.
No, we're get sidetracked here, but I think there's history of running backs being drafted and not having as big a role as we thought, especially even in the 2nd round. And even for Seattle, they drafted Rashad Penny in the 1st round, and they had Chris Carson. And it's not like Penny just came in and took the job. He didn't even. I don't even know if he got hurt that year, or maybe he did.
I think it's a pretty safe bet.
He definitely got hurt.
He didn't. I don't think he got hurt early. I think he just didn't win the job.
He might have been hurt in camp. You took him at a good spot. You took him in round 5. Again, it's debatable who's better, but you guys could probably talk this out, and this might matter to redraft leagues as well. You took Ken Walker in round 5. Heath 1, 2, 3, 5 picks later took Dameon Pierce in round 6, and so they're the same year of service.
Uh-huh.
So you're getting the same amount of potential time on their rookie deals, because that's really what matters for these guys at this point. So Heath, would you have considered in this draft in a dynasty league Walker over Pierce?
Yes. I like Pierce a little better this year, but I think Walker probably has more longevity than Pierce does. But yeah, those guys are right in the same range for me, both high-end number 2 running backs for dynasty purposes. If they were 100% healthy, I would probably take Walker.
That's interesting, because I would take Pierce also.
I drafted him before the injury.
Right.
Yeah, clearly, yeah.
All right, so I got to get through the rest of the notes.
Actually, you didn't, because he's been dealing with this, just reported, because he missed a couple practices before this happened.
The Rams running back Sony Michel is retiring. Is it Sony Michel? I don't know if I said that name right. Kyler Murray says there's no timetable for his return. He didn't rule out week 1, but still no timetable. Justin Fields signed someone's baby. That was interesting. Someone held their baby up, and he signed the jersey. It was kind of cute. Ezekiel Elliott visited the Patriots. Ty Montgomery is injured right now for the Patriots. Perhaps was going to be their 3rd down back. So he's dealing with something.
I think the day before he got hurt, they changed his designation. They had him listed as a running back / wide receiver. And that day before he got hurt, they changed it to just wide receiver. And they said that day he just took snaps with the wide receiver. So I don't know if that matters or not, but
okay.
It certainly matters for Pierre Strong.
The Dolphins signed cornerback Eli Apple with Jalen Ramsey out until December. 2 Giants wide receivers came off the PUP list, Sterling Shepard and Jamison Crowder. Sterling Shepard had 10 targets in 2 of 3 games last year. And over the last 4 seasons, when Daniel Jones has been on the field, Sterling Shepard is at a 23.4% target share. Does anybody care about that?
yes.
Yeah, they have 45 slot receivers, and this is the one that Daniel Jones loves the most.
Like, seriously, can you list all the slot wide receivers on the Giants?
Well, I said 2 of them: Shepard, Crowder, Paris Campbell, Wan'Dale Robinson. There's more, aren't there? Maybe Jalen Hyatt could play the Cole Beasley. That's right. No, there's too many. DeAndre Swift has been used mostly in the passing game so far. Penei Sewell, Detroit offensive tackle, he's in the concussion protocol.
I think that's terrible news if that's the case.
Oh, for
Swift? If it's Rashad Penny on early downs and DeAndre Swift in the passing game, I think that's really bad news for Swift.
Yes.
Is it bad news for A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith?
No, I don't think so.
It just depends. I mean, I don't think it's like drop them in any draft boards, but I do think that, look, they didn't throw to Miles Sanders last year, and they just may not value Miles Sanders in the passing game. They may value significantly DeAndre Swift in the passing game, and that's just a new wrinkle of what this offense could look like.
They had the fewest running back targets in the NFL last year. And Dallas tight end Luke Schoonmaker is dealing with a foot injury. Is anybody drafting a Dallas tight end in redraft?
I did this in the Fishbowl. I think if you're in a tight end premium league, Jake Ferguson.
That's another thing I'm adjusting today. It sounds like Ferguson is quite a ways ahead for that role. So yeah, I had them kind of splitting the targets.